We'll get started. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. This is super fun. There is a lot of chaos in the world right now, and the options that I have as the leader of this community is to ignore it or to address it without panic. And I would rather address it with you guys and open the space for conversation and just help support you guys through this in any way that I am able to. You guys know that I do come from a health background. I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in the ER, I've worked in acute care. I've dealt with a lot of this stuff from an acute perspective. Let me turn that off. So I really want to address it. And I've brought in Natalie, and I'll let her introduce herself. And she's, sorry, my husband is demon texting me. He's like, I'm not answering, so he's dinging me. He's like, answer her. Anyways, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then she's just gonna take us through some strategies, and then we can have a discussion.
Yeah, hey everybody. So my name is Natalie. I am a pharmacist and I live in Leamington, Ontario. And I am a functional medicine practitioner. So I finished my functional medicine training probably about 5 years ago now. And the reason I'm in the Running Mom community is I used to do triathlons at a national level age group. So not like, you know, the 20-year-olds who are like going to the Olympics, but I was an age group triathlete. And through a lot of career shifting and personal shifts in my life the last couple of years, running has definitely taken a back seat. So I connected with Carrie a couple of months ago because I'm like, I need to get back into it and get back going. And I really love Carrie's perspective of nutrition and training smart and training for strength.
Great. You guys, can you all mute yourselves? Make sure that your video is muted so that we're not losing Natalie's sound. We can unmute you later when you want to ask a question. Thanks. Sorry.
I don't know how.
Yeah, Alex, just try again because it looks like you're still unmuted.
How? Oh.
Everyone else is good. There should be at the bottom of your screen on the bottom left, there's like a little microphone.
I got it. I think.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, we're good.
Oh, except you. Hold on a sec. Except you.
All right, perfect. So I love Carrie's philosophy of being strong and being smart about things and minding our hormones and minding our stress levels. So with that underlay comes everything with immunity and overall health for us and our families. And that's really what I want to get into today is keeping ourselves healthy and how that overlays to our families in the short term over the next couple of weeks, because many of us, they just announced in Ontario yesterday that, yeah, kids are going to be out of school for at least 3 weeks. So that's the, you know, I know everyone, depending, you've got people all over the world in here, so some people are going to be off longer, but for at least for the next 3 weeks, the kids are not going to be in school. So what do we do with that? What do we do? How do we shape that as mothers and leaders of our own households and whatever other communities and groups we are serving going forward? So we're going to get into some of that today.
Awesome. And I just want to stress again that I know as runners, we go to running as a way to manage stress, but we also have to understand that more running, endless running, getting up early and skipping sleep and skipping nutrition and just running is harming our immune systems. It's burning out our hormones and putting us more at risk. And that's why I'm really focused on helping you guys find that balance, okay? So this is where the home workouts come in really good, the 5K training programs, pulling back when we're really worried and not burning ourselves out. And that's from the physical perspective, what we can do with our training. 30-minute workouts are just the best. Running is, yes, good for our mental health and it will help us, but we need other strategies as well, okay? So I want to really hammer that point home, and then I'll let you share your strategies because you've got the rest of the strategies.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to see if I can share my screen because I did put some slides together just so I had my walking points to go through to keep us on, keep it on target. So keeping us and our whole families healthy, super important. So I'm going to get right into some stuff that I know a lot of you are, you know, tuning in to hear Carrie's wisdom on this. And from a pharmacist functional medicine, you want the like, okay, what supplements can I take? And we're going to get there. But I want you to have a different understanding of how we're going to approach everything, right? Because this is changing, right? So this is not just we're home for 3 weeks, we're trying to stay healthy. This is a turning point in our society and how we operate with each other and operate with our families going forward. So I'm throwing up this slide of the scale of consciousness because it's a good reference point to give a little bit of understanding of energy levels, not just physical energy levels, but energy in the source of like actual tangible energy, right? And how that's going to relate to the well-being of our bodies and viruses in general. So this is one reference. There's many references depending on who you follow for this type of work, but the person I've studied over the last few years is David Hawkins. So he has the scales of consciousness. And basically just what I want to point out a couple of things, right? Because you can dive into this all you want. So what I want to point out is the level 200. So for him, on his scale, and there's other similar scales by other people, the level 200 for him is neutral. So that's where our bodies are just neutral. We're just being like dust to dust, ashes to ashes. Anything below the level of 200 is where sickness, illness, chaos thrive and occur. So if we look below the level of 200, I want to point out like the emotional states that are there that we can see and where we can maybe identify where we've been in the last day, the last week, the last couple of weeks. So fear and anger are definitely ones that I've self-identified with, and I'm identifying with people in the larger collective. So when we are in states of fear or anger, our bodies shut down, our cell receptors shut down, and they don't respond properly. The proper hormonal communication is impossible in those states. So we need to have an awareness of these states and get ourselves out of it. Right? So what can we do to get ourselves out of this? The ultimate healing states are love, joy, gratitude, and peace, right? So I'm really going to focus on love and talk about joy today as well. Peace, you know, that's a very hard level to actually attain for more than like instantaneous moments, but all of us have the capacity to have states of love and be in those states of love consciously more often. So when I look at something like fear, to me, joy is the opposite of fear. So when we're in states of joy, our bodies cannot be unwell. Our bodies are super well and everything is working well. We're in those higher levels of consciousness. So there's a very high energy vibration state. So if someone says, raise your vibe, we can look at it this way, in a more scientific way, to have a really understanding. So everything I'm going to talk about today is about raising our vibe and having an awareness of what we can do mindset wise to instantly change our vibe and get to a higher state. So we recognize these lower energy states, and these are all normal. And even throughout a day, we're going to bounce back and forth, right? I have a funeral to attend later this afternoon for a friend from high school. Her father passed away. So yeah, I'm going to be in some of these lower layers, these lower states today naturally, because that's the environment that attends to it. But this is why I know I need to double down and do the other measures we're going to talk about so that I can be there and honor it, and then make sure my body is nourished and process it and come out of it into a different state. Because also while, I'm there and people are going to be going through apathy and grief, there's also going to be a lot of love. So it's what you choose to focus on. Do we choose to focus on the terrible, the sadness, the everything that's happened, or do we choose to see the love in this situation, right? So this is the mindset piece. Do you have any questions or any comments on that, Carrie?
No, it's completely in alignment with what we talk about a lot, and bring some science into it. And again, just reminding you that 50% of our emotions on the day-to-day are negative. And we don't want to cover them up. We want to feel them. And like you said, honor them, but then do the work we need to do to come back up to our higher vibrational space. It's so important. Yeah.
It's all about being here and choosing to be here. So interestingly enough, one thing I do every morning as part of my morning routine and as my meditative spiritual practice is I read from Course in Miracles. So today, this was part of the expert from my thing in my daily reading. So this is page from 425. So your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Identify with love and you are safe. Identify with love and you are home. Identify with love and find yourself. Okay, so this is a big piece of like, this is what I do every morning and have committed to for the last couple of years. So whether it be this or something else, meditative, prayer-like, reflective, journaling, that is part of my morning routine, right? And it's just, I love the alignment of how perfect that message is for today and for all of us going forward. So identifying with the love. So that's going to be what my focus is over the next couple of weeks, is really nurturing the love in my home, right? The love around everything, because in that is safety, right? I don't want my children to be in fear. When I was giving my child his smoothie this morning, like I educate them on why we're eating this healthy food so that they aren't in a state of fear, because I can't control, they are at school today. They did have school today. So I can't control what they're getting while they're at school, but I can instill in them a sense of confidence and a sense of we are doing things to support our health. Okay, so a little bit more on the energy thing, is that this is, and I just pulled up something super quick just to show you for people who are kind of newer to like the energy talk, is that, yes, this is an article that of, shaking viruses to death. But basically what it means is that everything, including viruses, is responsive to energy. And we want to keep our energy at a state that the virus is not welcome, right? We want to keep our state, it's in those dips. It's in those dips in our immune system. It's in those dips where we get into those lower energy states that a virus can get in, or any bacteria for that matter, and start to replicate, because they have, by definition, viruses and bacteria have a very low level of consciousness. That's just what they do. So they are going to resonate when we're in those low states, and they're going to be home and they're going to be welcome, but they're not welcome in higher vibration states. So it talks in this article about operas, like resonance and energy and the hertz from opera singers that can damage viruses. And if you go back to this, most classical music resonates over the scale of 500. So we've done the science that high calibration music can actually damage viruses. So this is why we want to stay in those states. Okay, so just for complete roundness, I had put part of this presentation together about a week ago for one of my groups, just to do like a very quick overview of things of what was coming on at that point. So these are the symptoms of the corona infection that we know of, and it's very similar to the flu. So just we'll go over them quickly. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath, runny nose, sore throat, headache, and not feeling well. So those are the symptoms of that. So, I work at the pharmacy. We're adjacent to it, a walk-in clinic, right? So I had several sick kids in last night. They're sick, but they definitely don't have the coronavirus. It was definitely, some bronchitis and everything that the doctor had diagnosed. So there's, makes it interesting that we're still in cough and cold season. We're still in flu season, but these are the symptoms that if you're not feeling well, then don't be spreading your love to everyone close up. Okay, right? What do we need to do? So this is, if you just take this slide and if you focus on doing this every day for the rest of your life, you're gonna have a happy, healthy life, no matter what is thrown at you, okay? No matter what virus, bacteria, what level, what stress, anything that comes at us. If this is our goal going forward, this is it. Screenshots this slide. Carrie's going to be posting this. I'm going to be putting this together in a document for everything. So Carrie already mentioned sleep. So you have to be getting your sleep. You have to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep for most people. And the science says that most the highest performers on average get 8.6 hours of sleep a night. So I know there's a lot of, moms in this group with kids of all ages. So sleep is interesting. for some of us, even when our kids are a little bit older, but that has to be our goal. So we have to create our schedule and our family schedules and routines that allows us to have that sleep. Okay, for us and
I'm just going to interrupt. And if you can't get sleep because it's out of your control, you have to dial down, dig deeper on the rest of the habits. That is not a time to be pushing your training and pushing marathons, because that is hard on your system.
Exactly, right? Like, so this is all like a collective, right? So it's like a collective bucket. So when I look at, are you people familiar with the term allostatic load? Allostatic load? Okay, so it's basically like a stress term, right? And so allostatic load is a term that refers to like how much stress your body can handle. So all of this stuff, think of it as filling your bucket up, and any stress is like the hole in the bucket. So we want lots in that bucket, and we want to seal up any holes. Okay, so the more, again, if you know you can only get 6 hours of sleep, then you better be doing some of the other stuff to keep putting into that bucket. Okay, so keep stress down. And how do we do that, right? It's, reduce your stress. sure, all of us moms who are working, and now we have some financial things to be thinking about, and what do we do with our kids and childcare? So the other things that we're talking about all go into being aware of stress, the awareness that has on our body, and doing the things to do that. So practicing gratitude is one of my favorites. So practicing gratitude is a great place for people to start if they've never really meditated before, or they don't have a mindfulness practice. It's a great entry into that. So practice gratitude. If it's not something you are consciously aware of or don't have a practice of that, my one recommendation for you is to sit down today and make a list of 10 things you're grateful for. And every morning and every night, read that list. That's a great place to start. And then from there, then you can do a list every day, every night before you go to bed. Great. Make a list of the things you are grateful for that happened that day. Okay. So meditation and mindfulness. So part of my mindfulness is my morning reading and my morning meditation. So meditation, it doesn't have to be a very long practice. 3 to 5 minutes a day is amazing. It's actually is proven just as effective than, like, say, a longer session less frequently. So it doesn't have to be long. Lots of resources out there. Find something that works for you in your schedule, whether it's a guided meditation. You can find a 3-minute guided meditation on YouTube, or anything a little bit longer. So meditation is something that I'll go to when I know I need extra balancing. What day was it? Wednesday. I was trying to work on some projects, and it was nothing Corona related, but it was like other reasons why I wasn't focused on my work and my projects. So I took that opportunity. I realized that I was not in a sense of like a state of like balance and harmony. So I'm like, I'm going to do an extra meditation right now. So it was like 11:30 in the morning. So I took 15 minutes and did a meditation to settle myself down and get recentered so I could carry on, because I felt I was out of balance. Fresh air and sunshine. Oh my goodness. Like, especially at times like this, we're talking about like germs in our house, like get outside and get some fresh air, open a window, let most the people in Canada or northern the US, we've been cooped up inside for months. Open the windows, get some fresh air into the house. The sunshine, there's more to the sun than just vitamin D. There's actual like minerals in sunlight, right? Like if you've ever been out in the sun, like you notice like your skin smells different after you've been outside. Carrie probably smells like that all the time being in Costa Rica. It's a lovely outdoor scent. So there's more to the sun than just vitamin D. There's so much. The sun is information. It is a very powerful energy state. And the sunshine actually directly improves, and there's photoreceptors in our cells, right? So the light will actually make our cells work better. It actually fires up our mitochondria, right? That's why we feel better when it's sunny outside. So getting outside and getting some sunshine. So even if it's just sitting outside in the backyard, if you're running, try to, expose your arms a little bit to get some sun, but just even get outside for 20 minutes in the morning makes a big difference in regulating your hormones, your circadian rhythm, and getting some of that in there. So in Canada, the sun's still not at the right wavelength to make vitamin D, and I'll talk about vitamin D a little bit later. Another lifestyle thing I love is grounding. So grounding is the practice of getting in touch with the earth it'll help rebalance us, and it helps neutralize the negative charge from all these electronics and lights and, you know, fluorescent lightings and everything. So the easiest way is just put your bare feet on the ground. If you're, you know, shy about the cold and going out in bare feet, I'll definitely will even do that in January in the snow. You can put your hands on a tree because the trees are rooted deep into the ground. So putting your hands on the tree will give you that same effect. I also sleep on a grounding sheet. So there's products you can get that they plug into the grounding outlet in your wall. And so while I'm sleeping, I'm essentially getting I'm actually getting grounding benefits for 8 hours while I'm sleeping as well. Okay. Water, obviously water, super, super important. So staying hydrated. We don't want our cells like shrunken up and shriveled. We want our cells full of good hydration, good quality water. And I do always recommend people drink filtered water. So my two recommended filter sources are Berkey and Aquasana. There's definitely others as well, but those are very reliable on the cleanliness of the water and everything they pull out. So it is important to be drinking clean water, which is, you know, in Canada and the US, like toilet paper and bottled water is what's flying off the shelves. I'm like, I'm good. I got my Berkey system. I don't have to worry about having bottled water at the house. I'm good. It's taken care of, and it's way better than the bottled water that people are getting at the store. Okay. Daily movement. So I use movement for when I'm teaching about exercise and healthy lifestyle habits, because I'm teaching to more than people who are just in a running community. So in this time, as Carrie mentioned, we want movement that supports our body and our health. It's important for our detox and our circulation, for stress management, so many things, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to be, you know, maybe if you're training for a half marathon, maybe you need to be cutting that back, right? I refer those training plans off to Carrie, but for most people, shifting it to the idea of daily movement, whatever is going to be best to support them, to keep them strong is important, right? So luckily we're in this tribe, so we have access to all kinds of home workouts, right? So we don't have to go to the gym. We can do our 20, 30 minutes, whether it be a walk or a run outside, whether it be a body weight exercise. We have those things to keep moving our body every day, but doing it in the sense of we want it filling that bucket up, not contributing to the leak out of the bottom of the bucket, right? So not overtraining it and doing it and overdoing it, but doing it in a sense that honors and strengthens our bodies. Okay, so eat plenty of fruits, vegetables, and quality protein. So feeding ourselves with quality anti-inflammatory foods. That's an absolute do. That's an absolute thing. Very important thing to be doing. And, you know, as I talk about this, and I think I'll get to it a little bit more at the end, is I want people to, some of the easiest things and the biggest impact it can have is how you start your day, right? So these little things, I've already mentioned, I'm sure a bunch of things that you've been able to pick out, like, oh, I could add that to my morning, or I could change it to my morning. So the biggest thing is how you start your day. So what is your breakfast? So if we are in a state where we are, you know, maybe want to make some changes in what we're eating on a regular basis, I recommend start with breakfast, because generally what you eat for breakfast, you eat pretty much the same thing most days once you have that thing dialed in. So make sure breakfast is dialed in, okay? And live your life, right? So live your life and focus on what is important. Really focus on what is important in this time. It's gonna be a great chance for reflection for a lot of us over the next couple of weeks. And we have that perspective and awareness of, like, you know, taking stock, what matters and what doesn't, right? So not getting caught up in some other things. So avoid, absolutely as important as the do's, is avoiding processed foods, avoiding refined sugars. It's not fruit sugar, but refined sugars. So interestingly, sugar directly interferes with vitamin C being able to enter your cells. So we know vitamin C is a great vitamin to be having to help our immune systems. They're giving people in China IV vitamin C now as part of their treatment. But if we have sugar in our body, then the vitamin C actually isn't getting into the cell in the same capacity, right? So everyone's like, well, what supplements do I take? It doesn't matter how much vitamin C you're taking if you're not doing the other supportive measures as well. Avoiding artificial colors and sweeteners, they just mess up with your hormones. Avoiding plastics, same, messing with your hormones, adding more toxins to your body. avoiding alcohol. So it's a joke like, yep, the grocery store near my house is out of wine as well. It's like, okay, people are worried about, you know, getting sick, and like number one thing they're doing is like, oh, I'm home with the kids for 3 weeks. This is what I've been seeing. I'm home with the kids for 3 weeks. Better get some wine. No, you better put the wine away. You better have a cup of tea instead if you want to stay well. Okay. Avoiding fear. Again, we've talked about that with the levels of consciousness, and avoiding gossip. Essential oils. So I love using essential oils around the home. So it's, again, I want you women who are watching this to come away with a sense, with more empowerment, to empower yourselves and your families of the things that we can do. So if we, I'm scrolling back up here, I didn't point out this courage, right? So courage, the courage to take control and the courage to do the things we need to do, that alone, having the courage to make those changes and to do the things that we know we need to do, brings us to the level of 200 and the level of consciousness, which is out of that downward spiral. So if we do nothing but that remain at the level 200 the majority of the time, you're doing a great service for you and your family. So I love using essential oils, right? So definitely I have like, you know, On Guard or something similar to that, diffusing in the diffuser before the kids get home from school, using it to clean surfaces as well. So these are some essential oils that we know have antibacterial and antiviral properties. Citrus oils. So again, you don't necessarily need to go buy anything. If you have oils, odds are you have some of these at home right away. Citrus oil, whether it be lemon or orange or lime, cinnamon, clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, tea tree, or frankincense are all great oils that we can use to clean with or put in our diffusers. And I know there's definitely people who are much more depth of giving advice on essential oils than I am, but it is a complementary thing that I do use as well.
Me too, just ask me.
Is there a question?
No, I said just ask me if you have questions.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So let's get into some immune boosting foods. So basically any fruit or vegetable is going to be awesome, right? But these are some top immune boosting foods. So lemon and limes, like I talked about, is citrus oils. Lemon and lime, like if I want you drinking lots of water. If you're not a big water drinker, how about add a little bit of lemon juice to it to give it some flavor? Sometimes that will encourage you to consume a little more water. Garlic, ginger, so these are great things you can add into your foods that you're already making. If you're making stir fries or using vegetables, adding those extra garlic and ginger in as immune boosting. A lemon ginger tea, you can make that very simply your own at home with the fresh ingredients. Super nourishing tonic. I love mushrooms. I'm a huge fan of mushrooms for a ton of reasons. They are magic, right? I love mushrooms for so many reasons. So mushrooms are very good immune boosting food. Bone broth for the source of minerals and protein in it. Olive oil and apple cider vinegar. So these are some top immune boosting foods. And I love really focusing on fresh fruits as well. Supplements. So I know a lot of people have been waiting kind of for this. It's like, what can I do? Like, what can I take to bolster my immune system? And again, I want everyone to have this awareness. Is like, I want you doing the other stuff too. Like the other stuff is more important than this on a regular daily basis, right? Because we never know when someone's getting sick, whether it's the virus of the day or, the flu or, the kid who walks by with bronchitis. So we need to be doing those other stuff all the time. But these are some of the top immune boosting supplements. So number one is liposomal vitamin C. So as I mentioned before with sugar, that we actually need the vitamin C to get in the cell, and our cells have a layer of fat. Vitamin C is water soluble, so it's actually pretty hard for vitamin C to get into the cell. So we want to optimize that. We want to make sure as much as possible is getting into the cell. So liposomal vitamin C basically is just a form that the vitamin C gets in the cell better, right? So when we look at the effective dose of liposomal C, if we're comparing, you're actually getting 4 to 5 times as much with that. Andrographis is an herb. I believe it's a root originally from South America, I believe. Great immune boosting properties, has been used traditionally for centuries to help with colds and flus. So you can get it in in blends with other herbs as well to help boost your immune system. It has antiviral properties. Liposomal glutathione. Glutathione is a great detox. Crucial for the liver to have glutathione to help for your body to be clearing everything at this time. So again, we want to decrease the stress load. So we want to decrease toxic load on our bodies at all times, right? Vitamin D3 and K2. So vitamin D, super critical for, vitamin D is actually a hormone and super critical for, one hormone affects all of them and affecting our immune system. Now, if we live in Canada or northern US, unless we're going south for the winter, we're not making vitamin D from the sun from about Labor Day till about Easter, depending when Easter is. So about mid-April, when the sun's strong enough at the right wavelength that we will start making vitamin D from natural sun exposure. So in the winter, pretty much everyone in Canada needs to be supplementing with vitamin D3. So get tested. I recommend people get tested in September or October to know where your vitamin D level is, because it's not going to get any higher throughout the winter. It's only going to decrease from it as your body pulls from your vitamin D stores. So proactively getting tested in September, October to see where your levels are, and then knowing what you're at. So like I've had my vitamin D genetics tested. There's 3 genes that govern vitamin D, and I have the weaker variant of all 3. So I take 5,000 units of D year round because I've had my genetics tested. I don't recommend that for everyone, but for most people in Canada in the winter safely can take 3,000 units of vitamin D. It is also, if you're taking higher doses, it's recommended to have vitamin K with it as well to help optimize bone health. Probiotics, great for everything. So one specific one I've highlighted here is Metagenics, and they have one that's called Cold Support. So it is a special formulation that helps with upper respiratory. So because the topic is, respiratory virus, which is what coronavirus is, it's a respiratory virus. If you're someone who's susceptible to things, like my grandma, she's super susceptible to sinusitis. I have her taking the Cold Support one, year round, and definitely during cold season, because that's what's best for her. But any probiotic is going to give your body a little bit of immune boost, protect your insides from anything that's coming at it. And then, whether the Cold Support is one that is right for you or not, that's something that we could have a conversation if someone has questions about that directly. Zinc, another great immune booster. It's available. You can get it in tablets, you can get it in lozenges, you can get it in a spray. Super good for sore throats, which is one of the symptoms with coronavirus. So zinc is also very good that way. One of the mushrooms that I love, one of the medicinal mushrooms that I love is reishi mushroom or Ganoderma. Reduces overall inflammation in the body, which just helps everything work better. And it has direct antiviral properties as well. Elderberry syrup. So this is something that a lot of people will make at home, right? So if you are in a community where people make their own potions and tinctures and everything, there's probably someone locally who makes elderberry syrup. There are some sources that are commercially available, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to find elderberry syrup. But if you have a source of that, that is a great one that, the kids will even take. So it can be taken proactively during cough and cold season. And it can be taken more if someone's actually sick. Okay.
Natalie, we might run out of time.
Yep.
Should we start a new Zoom call? How much do you have left?
Is this limited to 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we do part 2 on a new call?
Sure. Let's do that, because I want to, let's do that.
Yeah. You guys, I'm going to post another link in your groups, and because this call is going to end, and we'll just hop on another one. Okay. I'll see you in just a couple minutes.
See you in a few minutes. Okay.
Sorry.